Hey, what's up everyone? Raylo here from Raylo Vapes, bringing you another review. Like I said, I'm going to keep doing these. I tried to do it on Saturday, got a little busy. But anyways, I've been getting a lot of people asking me about this since this is now on a pre-order, but we're going to be talking about the new Bellus RTA from Youde, of course. Even wearing the shirt. So, yeah, so let's go ahead and go up close real quick before I talk on this, and I'll show you all the inner workings, talk about the airflow and why they did it with these little holes instead of just wide slots, show you the top fill, and show you the deck. All right, so hold tight. Let's go ahead and jump down up close and show you the Bellus. All right, so here we go in up close mode with the new Youde Bellus RTA. So this is the packaging that it comes in. You can see here, here's the Bellus. It says Bellus right here on this side and says Bellus right here on that side. Oh, hey, there's my webcam. On the back, you can see here, they kind of have some instructions about getting stupid stickers off of here, but sort of shows you the breakdown of how this thing comes apart, how to fill it, what comes in here, and then some company information and all this happy stuff down here. So let's go ahead and get into this. So here's our Bellus. Ooh, that might have been loud. You get a sheet. You get a sheet of Japanese cotton right here, all scrunched up and thin. We'll check that later, see if that works. And here you get your bag of goodies. Looks like you get some extra O-rings for the tank, the glass section, your grommet here for the juice fill. You get some extra screws. They even give you a coil to work with right on, and also looks like they give you a insulator as well. All right. And of course, you get an extra glass just in case you break the one that comes with it. Always nice to have a little extra piece. And that's it. That's all you get. All right. So, I'm gonna put all this back together and we'll take this thing apart. All right, so here we go. Here is the Bellus. So as you can see here, it says Bellus right here. There's the name. You have the massive 32, was it, holes? I believe they were saying 32 holes on this, which I'll go into this and why this matters, because the actual airflow is not this big, and we'll get into that. All right, so you have your glass tank here. The glass is actually 1.5 millimeters thick, 20 millimeters high, and of course 22 millimeters in diameter, as this tank is 22 millimeters overall. Then we go down here to the bottom. See here, Youde, designed and manufactured by Youde Tech. You have a brass, looks like a brass, maybe even gold plated. Maybe it's gold plated. I don't know, it doesn't say anywhere. And it is adjustable. As you can see, doing it with my finger. All right. As with all of the new Youde tanks, you get their little drip tips now that come, I don't know if you could see that in there, but it has that rifling. You can see it this way better. Probably not. My lighting's not all that good. Sorry. Cool thing is, rifling goes all the way down the chimney. So you have full rifling. Inner diameter of this drip tip, I want to say, is 6 millimeters, and it's 11 millimeters around. So let's show you, because this tank comes with top fill. So with top fill, you just take this top portion off. See here, you have your little grommet right there that seals everything off. Instead of, like, if you recall with the Zephyrus, it was just that stupid little piece that could easily get lost. Well, now they slapped a big old chunking thing in there. Same thing that I showed you with the extra parts. Now we have the top fill. So the top fill has this like concaved looking thing going on here. And you have these two 3 millimeter holes, which is really nice because if you are using a glass dripper here, I don't want to get this all juicy, but glass drippers fit. See? They fit in there. But there is a little downfall to that, and I'll probably go over that. Well, no, I will go over that once we go into the pros and cons. But that's really nice to have those 3 millimeters. But the whole concave thing kind of causes some issues. As you can imagine, juice would go right in there. But we'll get into that. This isn't the pros and cons yet. But anyways, threading on this is fairly nice. It's kind of thin, so sometimes you might have a little bit of issue with it, but if you can hear, pretty darn smooth. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the deck here. So to access the deck, you have this ring here that holds everything together. Nice, easy threads on that. And your deck just pops right out. The deck is held together. Let me zoom in here. So the deck is held together by this little notch right here. There's 2 little notches. And those 2 notches sit right into those little areas right there. So it just pops in, pops out, and then you have your deck. So if you guys have used the Goliath V1 or V2, you are quite familiar with this design, the 2-post design. That's also now widely popular in drippers as well. So you have the same simple 2-post design with 2mm post holes on here, which make it really easy to use wire that you want to fit in here. For the most part, I wouldn't suggest anything over 24 though. You have the step-down wicking system, which this thing is a breeze to build on. Let me tell you, the wicking on this is super simple here. So you can see the little deck lip there, cotton basically. You're gonna pancake this. That's pretty much the only way to it. You really don't need to stuff cotton down in here. You probably could, but I don't know. That's not how I've been wicking it. I'll show you how to do it properly. Now, on this side, we see a hole. Oh, what's that hole for? Oh, well, I forgot to show you because it wasn't in the package, but what we have here is the single coil, get back over here, the single coil adapter. So if for some reason you wanted to do a temperature control build and you really don't feel like making a dual coil, well, you can make a single coil. So what you have here is a silicone base with the stainless steel top. There is this little nubby thing right there, if my stupid finger would get out of the way. That little nub sits right into that little hole, and it seals off this side completely. Airflow doesn't come in, juice flow doesn't come in, and it doesn't touch post. So now you have a nice single coil device. Ew, my fingers are not looking so happy. I apologize about that. But yeah, so there we go. That's the deck. Really, whoa, thing just shot out. So there's a nice good look at the deck there. And let's go ahead and show you airflow. So airflow control, you can of course adjust it like so, right? With all of those massive holes. And if you look on this side, this little dot right here and this little circle, what you can do, so if you want it wide open, you just line that little dot with this little hole or little circle, and you have wide open airflow on this. And when you are going to fill it, you would just turn this, so that way all your airflow holes are lined up with that, and now you can fill it because this now seals off your airflow. Take this little ring off here, a little cheese grater little ring, and now we'll look at the airflow. So as you can see, all those little holes, it's not that massive of airflow. So what you're looking at here for diameter on this is a, what was that again? It is 5 millimeters by 2.5 millimeters on both sides. Now, you might be wondering, why did they do this? What was the point of doing all these holes? Well, thing is, sometimes when you get these massive airflow style tanks, you get whistling or you get that loudness from the airflow. Well, this is sort of kind of like, I want to say diffusing the airflow a little bit, and that's also allowing it to give a little bit more resistance when you're doing your lung hits, and it stops it from whistling, so you don't get that whistling sound with your wide open airflow. So it keeps it kind of quiet. Now let's look on the inside here. Oh, another thing I didn't talk about this. I was doing all these measurements and I didn't even mention it. So your deck space on here from all the way around is 13 millimeters. So 13 millimeter deck. Kind of a smaller deck, but you know, it works really well. I'm able to get 2.5 millimeter 24 gauge in there, no problem. So let's take a look at the inside here. So we kind of have like a little bell shape going down here. So you get that like concave or convex, whatever it is. Little shape going on there to help with the flavor. And you can see, so here's your chimney. the airflow and everything is attached to that chimney. So it goes all the way through, as you can see right there. And then over here and over here are where the juice flows into your wicks. So you have these nice two big fat juice flow sections that go to your wicks, no problem. I measured these out. There was it 12? Yeah, these were 12 by 2 millimeters each on both sides. And you can see there how the chimney is rifled all the way through. Let's go ahead and take this whole thing apart now. So there's the top of your chimney. You can see how it sort of concaves in. Your glass here, which is 1.5 millimeters thick. Really nice stuff. You got your O-ring and your top piece of your chimney. All right, so that is the whole thing taken apart. So let's go ahead and go back up into, I guess, instead of me just calling it regular mode, I'll call it like everyone else. Let's go into FaceTime here. All right, we'll be right back. All right, you guys, so we're back. So you got to see the up close. You got to see what the build deck looks like. You got to see how the airflow works. You got to see some of the specs of it. You got to see the chimney, take the whole thing apart, show you how this thing works. So let's go ahead and talk about pros and cons, what I like, what I dislike about this, where you can get it, how much it costs, all that good stuff, when it's going to be released, since this is really only on pre-order at the moment. But before I do that, let me go ahead and take a vape. So you can see there, this thing does produce a buttload of I was going to say a buttload of flavor. It does produce a lot of flavor, but it also produces a buttload of vapor as well. But depends on you. But anyways, so let's go ahead and talk about cons first, like I normally do. So let's see, cons. What do we have that's a con on the new Bellus from Youde? The one thing that I've noticed with this is when using the top fill. So, before I do that, let me go ahead and close off the airflow so I'm not flooding myself out. So the whole like concave thing going on there, what happens when you're using a glass dripper is the excess that's on the side of that glass dripper can feed down into the deck. So every once in a while, especially if you get like a real juicy or you're real sloppy with it and it's like you get a whole bunch of juice pouring down there, it's going to gurgle, it's going to do all sorts of nastiness, you'll get some spit back and whatnot. But with like unicorn bottles with these little cool tips on them, I've had zero problem. I don't get any gurgling from that. But if you are using like, glass dripper, glass bottles style thing, you probably will get some juice down there. It's just going to happen. There's really no way to prevent that. I think one way they could have done that is maybe made like a lip around where the chimney actually meets that section so that way juice doesn't get in there. But then you'd have to wipe off juice. So I mean, the top fill works really well and it does fit for glass drippers. I wouldn't suggest using them unless you don't mind having a little bit of gurgling in those first few hits. It goes away. It's not a constant thing. It doesn't flood, so you don't really have to worry about that. And if for some reason it gets really bad, like I've noticed when using the single coil adapter here, what ends up happening is juice will collect on the top of this adapter and you'll just get some gnarly spit back on it. So one thing that I would do, take like a little napkin, wrap around, close off one side of the airflow, and then just and that would blow out whatever excess juice you have in there, and you can vape and you'll be fine. It's just that after that initial filling with the initial filling with the glass dripper that you'll run into those issues. More so with the single coil adapter than with dual coils, just because it just goes right onto your coil instead of collecting on top of that thing. But that's really the only con I can find on this. Otherwise, I've really enjoyed this. I guess another con, as you can kind of see here, you probably can't see that. Let me go ahead and zoom in and show you what happens here. So you can see a little bit of condensation starts to collect where these little cheese grater holes are. So that could be another con. After you vape it for a little while, you'll start to notice a little bit of juice collecting in those little holes because they are fairly small. But Other than that, it's kind of hard to fault this. Maybe a bigger build deck would have been nice. But then again, if you want to vape like Max VG juices, having those big open juice slots for the juice to get to your coil, it might have constricted that a little bit too much and you wouldn't have been able to use a Max VG. So that would probably be the only cons, right? So we have the juice dropping down in here sometimes when using the top fill with glass strippers, condensation accumulating on the little cheese grater holes, and also having the issue of a 13 millimeter deck. But easy to get around that. For me personally, using tanks, when I'm rebuilding tanks, I normally build at 2.5 millimeters. I really don't see the point of having a 3 millimeter coil inside a tank. So if you're into 3 millimeter builds, or you're wanting to put some big giant like fused staple clapped in gargoyle hoof madness inside here, it's going to be a tight fit. All right. So that would probably be the only cons I can think of. When it comes to pros, quite a bit. I really do like how this thing functions. So you do have plenty of airflow, even though it doesn't look like it's that much. You got to remember, when it comes to airflow on a tank, the smallest area is going to be the most airflow you have. So if you could have wide open airflow down here at the bottom, but if the chimney is only so big, well, that's all the airflow you're going to get. If the drip tip is only so big, well, that's all the airflow you're going to get. So the way that this is designed, you have that, I believe, what was it, a 5 by 2.5 millimeter on either side. You have a 6 millimeter chimney, and you have a 6 millimeter drip tip. This thing is just perfectly balanced. When it comes to flavor, I get amazing flavor off of this. This is like almost at a 0.4, or actually no, this is at a 0.3, which is right where I wanted it to be. If you want to watch, I do the build tutorial after that, and that's the build that's in here right now, and you'll see exactly how I built it and wicked it. It's super easy. That's another thing. It's a 2-post deck, like the Goliath. So that's another pro for me. I love the Goliath deck. So it's the same deck that's in here, just without having that airflow from the bottom. You're getting it from the side, which is another pro. I really do like that side airflow. It does prevent this thing. So even if it does, for some reason, flood a little bit when you're filling it, you're not going to have to worry about this thing leaking and flooding and getting juice all over the place. It just doesn't happen with side airflow on a tank. Another pro, having your little single coil adapter. This thing's very well made. It's perfectly flush. When I was using this the last few days just to test it out, it actually did block off the airflow perfectly on that side, and of course blocked off the juice from flowing into that one side and kept everything on the one side that I wanted to have my coil on. So worked flawlessly on that. The fact that these little cheese grater airflow holes, they prevent this thing from whistling, and it also gives you that little bit of resistance on there as well. So it doesn't feel like this like massive like lung, just like like you're just breathing in, but you're getting enough resistance off of that, and it's stopping it from making that whistling noise. So you get that nice sound. It's not loud, it's not obnoxious like some of these other like massive airflow tanks. So that was another big plus for me. The design of it, it looks beautiful. It's a nice, simple looking tank. There's nothing flashy about it. There's nothing obnoxious about it. It's very sleek, 22 millimeters. Just all around really nice looking device. You don't see any holes on the top or anything like that. You don't have airflow on the drip tip. There's no reason to have airflow on the drip tip on a tank. There's just no reason. So you don't have to deal with anything like that, of course, unless you want to, and then you could always, get yourself a drip tip that has airflow on it. But I don't see the purpose of that in a tank. I don't know why they're doing that with all these new tanks. Totally forgot to mention this in the con, so I'm adding this in later after the video. But this does hold 5 mils of juice. So your Bellus holds 5 mils of juice. Addition done. Back to your regularly scheduled video. Another pro for me. This is a straight RTA. Some of you might think that's a con. Me personally, I love straight RTAs. They're meant to be an RTA. They're not meant to be a sub tank. They're not meant for anything else. They're meant to be an RTA. And this is a solid RTA. I am definitely very, very happy about this one. I'm going to go ahead and take another vape just because I like it so much. So, what other pros can I have on this? There's really not too much more to talk about on it. I mean, I pretty much discussed everything that I liked about this. And for you, of those of you that are wondering, this is the gang mod from Fumi Vapors. I'll be reviewing this one shortly. I was going to try and review it this weekend, but ran out of time. There's a lot of things going on. Had an advanced build class, yada, yada, yada. All this good stuff. So anyways, that's the Bellus. Now let's go ahead and go over price, where you can get it. So I did a quick search on Google, and man, China is selling the shit out of this thing. So I've seen it on a couple different like Chinese sites. There's one selling them for fucking $18.50. That's outrageous. I can't believe. I mean, they got to be selling this thing at cost. I don't know how they're making any money off of this. I know like Gear Best, I think, was selling it for. Oh, what were they selling these things for? I mean, China is just killing it right now with these prices on the Bellus here. Let's see. We have this eFun.top for $18.50. You have Gear Best selling it for $21.99. You have Fastech selling it. The prices are fucking with me. Fastech selling it for $28.52. And these are the authentic. These are not clone prices. Then you get into some American sites. So you have 101 Vape selling it for $24.99. You have, let's see, that was just the first page. That's the first page. Sweet Vape, I think they only had it for a penny, but they don't have a price on it yet, so I don't think the penny sticks. But hey, a penny? Yeah, so I keep going down the line. It seems like for the most part, not too many U.S. vendors are picking this thing up, and it might have to do with the China prices, because I don't think anyone here in the U.S. is going to be able to sell this thing for $18. I mean, that's ridiculous. The only one that I know from the U.S. that is selling it with a price was 101 for $24.99, and that was their pre-sale site, or pre-sale price. I just can't talk. Just can't do it. It's not happening. So yeah, just go ahead and go on Google and take a look. If you want to order it from China, you want to wait on China for it, and you'll get it for one hell of a steal. This tank should cost way more than that, in my opinion. But, oh, here's another site. They're selling it for $32, which seems like a more reasonable price to me for this from an American site. But hey, they're selling them for all over, so you can get this tank for cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. And it's definitely not cheap the way that it performs. So go ahead and take a look on Google. I'll post a couple of those links in the description just so it makes it easier for you to find it. But hey, I'm saying first page of Google, Bellus RTA. They'll all pop up, and you can find it, pick and choose whichever one you want. And yeah, so that's kind of it. So that was my review on the brand new Bellus RTA from Youde. It's rocking. I do like it. It works really well. I love the side airflow. I think that should be a new thing for tanks. It really does prevent this thing from leaking. And I've had it to where I'm just hanging out and it's just chilling and it's laying down, it's sitting there and it's not leaking, it's not flooding. I'm not having any of those issues that I have with other tanks. So I'm really happy with it. Definitely a step up from the prototype that I had from earlier. And Youde kind of knocked it out of the park with this one. So if you're looking for a straight RTA for you builder guys out there that love to build, or builder ladies out there that love to build, and you like tanks, this would be the one for you. So go ahead and check it out. All right, guys, so take another vape. Whew. So there it is, you guys. Bellus RTA from Youde. I'm Raylo Vapes. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to stick around and watch the build tutorial after this, right on. If this is where we part ways, thank you so much for watching. And as always, you guys, vape on. All right, so here we go, guys. Thanks for sticking around for the up close build portion of this video for the Youde Bellus RTA. So what we're going to do today is we are using Kidney Puncher Kanthal A1 24 gauge. And I'm kind of doing this a little bit different. I think I've done tons and tons and tons of these style of builds, so I figured I don't need to show you guys me making the coil. I'll just show you guys the coils. So what I did here is I have two 8-wrap 2.5 millimeter perfect little coils. All right, so this is exactly how you want to do it right here. If you want to see how to make coils, I have just a whole bunch of different tutorials on my channel, so you can go ahead and just take a look at those if you really want to see how to make a coil. But I've been using the Coil Master jig. Really easy to use off camera. On camera, it's kind of a bitch. So just gonna do it like this to try and shorten up my videos. All right, so let's go ahead and show you how to do this here real quick. Okay, so first things first here, we're gonna take our one coil and feed it through these post holes. And I don't know if you guys can hear my ceiling fan throwing a fit, but it is. All right. So we just get that in there and push it as close as you can to those posts. All right. And we'll mess around with this later. Now what you do on this side to make your life a whole lot easier when you're putting in your second coil, just bend these off to the side. Just like that. Take your tool out, your coil ain't going anywhere. Looks just like that. If it's not blurry. Just like that. All right. Now we take our next coil here and we do the same on this side. So just feed it on through. Make sure it's as close as possible and just bend your wires off to the side. I'll just go ahead and tighten down my leads here. Or on my lead. Well, yeah, on my leads. Tighten down my screws so I can tighten my leads in. How's that? That sounds better, right? I don't know. So make sure these are nice and snug. You're probably going to want to adjust these again after we mess around and heat these things up. But now that we got this part done, let's go ahead and grab our little Coil Master snips here and cut off our excess. As others have said, these are just amazing, and the ones that come, this is from the Coil Master, I believe this is the V2 Coil Master kit. They're actually magnetic, so when your wire doesn't go flying off like that last bit did, it actually tends to catch your wire just like that. Kind of cool. So that way you don't have wire just flying all over the place, and of course getting stuck in your foot and your hand. The foot's the worst, especially in the morning. Getting a piece of like fat piece of 22 gauge about an inch deep into your big toe, it's not pleasant. Trust me, I know. Okay, so now that I got all those cut, we'll stick our little tool in here, whatever you're using, screwdriver, Allen wrench like I used to use, and just take it and straighten it out. Kind of like that. And then you can always go in there and push it right there. Right there in the center. Okay, so we'll do the next thing on it. Same thing on this side. So get it nice and straight. Use our tool and kind of push it so it sits nice and center. Like so. And one thing I like to do on tanks is I will take it and lift it up just a hair. Just a hair. Make sure they're all lined up here. Just like that. Kind of, see that? They're kind of lined up. That one wire is a little funky, but whatever. We'll make do. Alright, so here we go. We're all set. Our ohm meter's reading about 0.28. I was shooting for about a 0.3, so close enough. So we got everything tightened down. Let's go ahead and get this thing wicked. Alright, so I'm using a sheet of Cogendo cotton, and I already pre-cut these. So what I did is cut one strip, fairly thick piece, and then sort of cut it a little beveled on one side and twist it nice and tight. And then we just feed it on through and kind of pull and twist at the same time. And then once I get it to where I want it, I sort of go back and forth just a few times just to kind of loosen up the cotton that's inside the coil. Second one here, I'll go ahead and do that one off camera. All right, so now that we're done, we got two little mustaches sticking off of our two coils here. And really easy, just kind of cut it right alongside the posts. Just like that. You really don't need that much cotton. And then what I kind of do here is I'll fluff out the ends, kind of like so, like that. So now we got these little bow ties, and sort of angle it and then cut some of that excess cotton, because you really don't need that much. Same thing on the sides. I kind of just clean it up. Until we got something that sort of looks like this. Might need to trim it up just a little bit more. The thing is, you don't really need it to go all the way down those channels. You just need it on that first little deck lip. This was pretty much designed for pancake wicking, and this looks pretty good. So kind of show you here. Let's see, might even be a little bit too much on this one. Let me go ahead and clean this up off camera where I can actually see it, and then I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Take it back. It was perfect. I really didn't even have to do any trimming to it. So you can see all the cotton is sort of just sitting there. This one's kind of like almost nothing, just hanging in that channel. It's not going to cause any issues. But it's just kind of pancaked right there on the top. You got plenty of room there for your airflow. And airflow goes all the way through since we raised those coils. So you're not being stopped by that center block in the middle. You actually have some air there. See what I'm saying? That gives it plenty of space for that air to go straight up into your chimney. So next step is, of course, let's go ahead and wet these wicks. I'm skilled. I was able to open that with one hand. All right. So just kind of a couple drops right there on the coil itself. Let that soak in. And just sort of paint it onto your cotton. Very important step. This doesn't really prime like you would with like a sub tank or cartomizer and those rebuildable heads. So very, very important step if you've never used a full-blown RTA, is just kind of wet your wicks a little bit. And what this will really do on top of helping you prime it is let you know how much wick you actually have, because of course once you wet cotton it expands. All right, kind of I help it a little bit. It's really not necessary, but I don't know. It's just kind of a step I've always liked to do. So you can see. All right. Everything is going right where it needs to be. Yeah, I like it. It looks good. Now for the hardest part. No, I'm just kidding. This is the easiest part. So, like I was showing you in the up close mode, you line up your notches with the tank. Pop that on. Make sure it is correct, unlike how I just did it. So now we're nice and sealed. Take our little bottom ring here, tighten that up, and we'll go ahead and fill this just to show you. So like I was showing you in the up close mode, this is open airflow. We want to close that off. Take the top off here, find our little juice bottle, put that in one of those little slots, squeeze. Let's go ahead and speed this up. All right. Put our top back on. and then just line up that ring with the little dot. We got our airflow open, and there we go. We got a fully built, wicked, and filled Bellus RTA. All right, guys, so that's the build portion of this. This is the same build that I was using through the whole second half of the video, so you can see how this performs. All right, guys, so thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for watching the build tutorial. And as always, you guys, vape on. 2 thumbs.
Once again, I see some